championship spot on the line. Two good friends, two fellow countrymen, two fantastic Hearthstone players. One man with a world championship spot already booked up in Bunny Hopper, and one man trying to join him based on one of the best years on the entire circuit in 2018 in KC. Admirable. What matters in the even lock mirror?
Big stuff. It's about getting big stuff and keeping big stuff and then having more big stuff than your opponent. A lot of this is one of the rare matchups where I think having coin offers the first opportunity of major advantage.
Yes.
And when Even Warlock was super popular in tournaments, we saw players change their Even Warlock lists a lot to try to snag that advantage or manipulate it in a certain way. We saw Doomsayers and stubborn gastropods included in deck list, and it's like, this minion doesn't do anything. But what it does do, it prevents your opponent from playing a turn 3 or a turn 4 Mountain Giant a lot of times.
Bunny Hopper going second kept a Spellbreaker. Your initial thoughts?
It's a nod to Twilight Drake.
Right.
I think a lot of times going second, you don't necessarily keep Twilight Drake, although, you know, I'd say about 95% of the time I see players keep it. When you're going first, however, there is no question about it that Twilight Drake is good enough.
Okay.
If your opponent plays Twilight Drake, it's going to hit a lot of minions and stay alive. So stop it from doing that. The thought that pings into my mind is, you just said it, one of your big advantages of being on coin is that you get to play a Mountain Giant on turn 3, whereas your opponent has to wait from turn 4. If you do not full mulligan for that Mountain Giant, you are reducing your chances of getting it, which is essentially throwing away some of your advantage in the matchup. It definitely is, but you know, you consider by the time you get to turn 3, you have 10 total cards in your hand, one of them being coin.
Yep.
So one of the 9 slots is no longer have a chance to be a Mountain Giant. So your increase in it is 1/8.
Okay.
So not a huge one, but certainly not of insignificance. KC, however, has, in my opinion, one of the most important cards in the matchup early on when you're going first. It's Doomsayer to stop a turn 3 Mountain Giant, the lone copy of Doomsayer.
And it's a one-of, yeah, exactly. You mentioned how there used to be Stubborn Gastropods and Doomsayers. Usually, like, 3 copies during the even lock peak of the combination of those 2 cards. 2 Doomsayers, 1 Gastropod, 2 Gastropods, 1 Doomsayer. Some lists even running the full 4, just to make sure they were in full control of that early game exchange.
And look at that. That's another reason to keep it.
Okay.
If your opponent's going to Doomsayer you, get something in play.
I respect it.
Mountain Giant looks a lot more, what's the word, deal-withable.
Ah, yes, that word.
Yeah. That's the technical term, at least.
Ooh. Pair of chunk boys right there.
Yeah. Also the technical term for Mountain Giant.
Yep. You said the Spellbreaker made the Mountain Giant look a little bit more deal-withable, but without Spellstone or anything such in hand, there is really nothing there. And Casey now landing the first Giant does kind of have control of the initiative. He can choose to value trade here. He can choose to go face. He can choose to take the even trade on the Mountain Giant, but again, that is really his choice, and there's little that Bunny Hopper can do to influence it.
Curious if Bunny Hopper ever runs into it. Or that. It does cut into some Sun Fury Protector situations there, which actually is quite smart to attack it if you think about it, because then if that 0/7 Doomsayer sticks around, at some point the Sun Fury, you know, protects this Mountain Giant's value trades.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this is really wise. It also starts to set up, you know, little minute defile turns.
And now with the coin gone and the turn 3 Giant advantage mitigated, now Casey truly does have the advantage of going first in a mirror match, where he is just doing every single individual turn's power spike. He has that option presented to him first. I will say he's missing a lot of those checks right now. He doesn't have another Mountain Giant to play. He doesn't have a Lich King to play on 8. Bunny Hopper does have both of those things available to him, but still, just by the advantage of getting to do things first, Casey is seizing the initiative.
Yeah, I mean, you know, basically every single time it's Casey's turn, it's an extra turn he's taking.
Yep.
Twilight Drake certainly throwing a bit of a wrench in the plans, but you know, this is also one of those disruptive attacks where now because Bunny Hopper has 2 Mountain Giants in play, you start looking at that face damage and you go, well, if I just start shipping this, do I end up winning from this scenario? Bunny Hopper says not yet. The Spellbreaker to me is really what's thrown a wrench in the plans. I don't think I've played an iteration where there's been 3 Mountain Giants with a Spellbreaker off the coin to stop a Doomsayer. I don't think I've run into that just yet.
This is a nice Homunculus Spellstone, though.
It very is.
It is a weak turn of development, though. This is one of the first turns where Bunny Hopper is able to just play a big threat and not worry about anything that Casey is doing. That is a luxury now available to him. It's kind of out of those. Dread Corsair, just a medium threat.
Infernal? Yes, Infernal.
Did I say Dread Corsair?
Yeah.
Nice. Pirate Warlock. You know?
You get the skull in play, you toxicologist it multiple times.
Yeah.
And Dread Infernal is about the biggest one you can have. You know, Bunny Hopper is missing Spellstone. Yeah, that's about the biggest one. Casey smells blood from here. He says second Mountain Giant, and there's not an effective way for Bunny Hopper to really fight back. You know, you mentioned the coin and how important that is. There's no 8-mana turn from Bunny Hopper. This is never a Hellfire Spellstone smash Casey for 6 kind of turn.
Right.
And that's a very big deal.
Yeah. The Hellfire and smashing is only going to come from one direction at the moment, and it's from Casey.
Road bumps. It's getting to that time.
Double Defile. Just taking the full clear. Yeah.
Oh, and it sets to 15 with the Homunculus, too. That Homunculus actually was a really important draw.
It was. It gave him the option of just doing it that turn as well. He could have gone Homunculus Hooked Reaver there just to put a wall up, but the Double Defile was actually a really, really strong option for him. And now, Casey having whiffed the Lich King, now we have another one of those turns where Bunny Hopper can seize initiative. Double Hooked Reaver or Lich King available. But that Gul'dan draw, if there was any doubt in the mind of which of those plays Bunny Hopper would prefer, I think that Gul'dan off the top seals it.
Well, you saw Bunny Hopper grab that Hooked Reaver and then went, wait a second, slow down.
Yeah.
Things can get awfully messy. I am about 99% sure this is right.
$14 power versus 8. Story checks out to me.
So my head moves to Spellbreaker Defile and to see what is available.
So many possibilities.
I'm not seeing a full clear. So you can make the 1 by sending the 6 into the 7. You can get 4 off silencing the 7/7, or you can get 3 by trading the 6/5 into the 2/4, but there's just still so many gaps in the chain.
Yep, and Bunny Hopper here is, I think, now about to take a pretty firm lead. It's the Homunculus being able to trade over here, and then the 7/7 picking up the Bone Mare, and Lich King is clear skies across as an 8/8 coming down. Casey's yet to develop any Hooked Reavers, which means that Bunny Hopper gets to Gul'dan first after that as well, but he's interested in even just developing more threats back behind that. So if he trades over the 2/4, he starts to turn the Shroom Brewers into more presence on board.
Right. I think this is a very smart option from Bunny Hopper. He recognizes the situation of what Casey's last couple of turns means. There's been nothing really on turn 8, nothing huge on turn 9 either. So Bunny Hopper knows that he has a very threat-light hand. So that means 2 things. It means a handful of removal, you know, Hellfires and Defiles, or it means that the minions in there are Hooked Reavers. So why bother turning them on and giving him minions to play?
This looked best to me. It Once again, I'm trying to spot defiles ahead of time because those are such critical swings to the game at this stage where it is such a poor card in the matchup right up until the point that it is an absolutely devastating card in a particular situation. And you see Bunny Hopper, he's paying a lot of heed to that by actually just continuing to trade until he gets to Gul'dan, because this is such a major swing in the game.
He got the juice as well. Double Homunculus, double Hooked Reaver, all forming a beautiful Dread Infernal sandwich. And I think this Lich King could spell lights out now.
The extra tick of Defile, I think, unlikely to be relevant here for Casey. Lich King is so destructively powerful. I mean, Casey's reaction to it lets you know just about everything you need to know. Bunny Hopper going to continue to say, you know what, board is the king as far as the matchup's concerned. A pair of Hooked Reavers here to help fight off, but Lich King getting 2 draws is just massive.
Spellbreaker on its own is just going to do it. Lich King trades through the other. Dread Infernal and the ping go to face, and Bunny Hopper is joining an illustrious group of players making repeat championship performances. Already achieved it once back in 2016 originally, I think, and then of course